What's up, guys, and welcome to the second episode of The Puppet Show. And today we have a very special episode. Here I have my co-host, Daniel Williams, aka Dynamics, and we have our special guest. He is locally the most consistent glover in the Hawaii scene. If you don't know him, you probably should. We got I Am Hypno, Hypno, Jeremiah. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Kevin.
Good. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super glad to have you on here. The moment I kind of envisioned the whole podcast, immediately I was like, okay, I have to have Jeremiah. We had to have him.
So I truly don't shut up about club.
You and I both. But for those of you who don't know who Jeremiah is, like I said in the beginning, he is one of the most consistent glovers. In terms of local competition, he's judged so many different competitions as well. And I think he's been starting off, maybe you started off before me? Maybe around the same time?
I think just a little bit before, because I started May 2011, Summer Wonderland.
We're kind of like around the same realm.
Well, no, so then that makes you like 6 months.
Just a wee bit, yeah.
Yeah, just a wee bit. And let's kind of like...
you also forgot to mention, he is also a Lights On Grand Champion.
Yes, of course. He is a Lights On Grand Champion.
I happened to just be one of his homies.
You know, maybe we could have split it, but...
we should talk about that. Let's say
my competitive edge is too sharp.
But, how did you get into gloving?
There's a super long version, but the slightly less long version is that, like, I'm like a sophomore, junior in high school, and me and my friends were getting into like electronic music, right? Like, and it's still like not cool, right? Like
Who was like the DJs at that time?
This is weird. This is like, you know, on the lead up to, like, this is the rise of Skrillex area. This is like 2000, so 2009, right? Leading up to 2009, like, we're getting into electronic music. Like, I'm discovering it. I'm falling in love with it. And one of our friends, like, discovers that, hey, people dance in this way to this music, right? And that's hardstyling. So we get into hardstyling. And we're doing it like outside of the guitar room at school. Like I'm bringing like my Logitech like 2.1 like setup, plugging it into the wall, and I'm like I put masking tape on the bottom of my like chunky Vans. Yeah.
Whoa.
And like we get deep into like trying to teach ourselves to like hardstyle and like Melbourne Shuffle, and like we see all of like the compilation vids, like the Moon Boy video and all this.
The Moon Boy video.
And we're just like, fuck, we gotta do this.
Yeah.
So we do it. And then one of our other friends is like, hey, we can actually go to a place where this isn't weird. Right? Like, and that's like, for those who are you have to be like super in the know, but it's a place just...
So it's a warehouse.
Innocuously called The Warehouse.
Oh, so it was the warehouse. Oh, yeah. It was not just a warehouse. It was the warehouse.
The warehouse. Like, it's literally directly behind Pipeline Cafe, where they had like concerts and stuff.
And that's for the viewers who aren't familiar in Hawaii, right? That's just more like the town side where like the city is.
It's downtown. It's seedy. It smells bad. Like,
oof.
Yeah,
right,
the parking sucks. But like it's 16 plus, and like we're in high school. It's 2009. You know, we're mostly freshly 16, and like we go, and I fall in love with it. Right, like it's magic. So we're going to hardstyle. That's it. That's all we want to do. We're hardstyling, partying, and then like when the dubstep DJ comes on, we leave because we can't dance to it. Then fast forward a little bit, like just before, like that summer of 2011, there's you guys remember the high school block party?
Yes.
It's
considered going to.
It's high school block party at the water park.
Yes.
And in the front of the event, I think I have a picture on Facebook. Like I'm wearing like pants and like a stupid like pleather jacket that I bought from like from Goodwill or something. And so I'm sweating. It's hot, right?
But you look good.
Okay.
Okay.
I have it
The
on.
best at the yacht party.
We roll up to the event, and in the front of the event is like the only like EDM kind of stage, and I don't know if you guys know him, but the first person I run into there is actually my cousin Scott. He was like he's like a ghost ringer orbiter in that kind of crowd, but I hadn't seen him for like nearly a decade. But like he's here at this place, and like and he's like around the same age as me, and he's like he's hard styling in the middle of the circle, and I run up, and we're just like, holy shit, Scott! I haven't seen you in so long, and we have this crazy like storybook moment where like we catch up real quick, and I was like, damn, I saw you in there, and like I get in there, and like I dance like my heart out, right? Like, and then I die. Like directly after, I'm like super dehydrated. I'm on the ground. I'm so tired. Like, and then I'm like, fuck. I want to have something to do at a rave that isn't hard, that I can do while I'm resting from hitting the circle.
Right.
At a rave, and like I see somebody gloving, and I was like, that.
Do you know who the glover was at the time?
Fuck no. No. I have no clue. I don't even get a light show. I just kind of see it. It was like, maybe that. And then like I think a little bit later, if I remember correctly, we went to go see like a Harry Potter. It might have been the last Harry Potter movie to come out, and I see it at Windward Mall with some friends, and I stop at the Glow Putt on the way out, and I buy a $10 pre-wired set.
Oh shit!
And that's where we're starting.
Bro, that's awesome. So me and you both have that similar, because at like my first rave at the water park, when I got a show, I was like, yep, that's it. I like getting the show right there. I made the decision in my mind. That's kind of like what I wanted to do right in the rave scene.
Right.
So I think that's a very interesting parallel that we have.
What's funny is
actually
me and him. I think we started to we put our foot in the door to try and hardstyle.
Yeah,
a little bit. But
we were there. Yeah, I was kind of.
I can relate to you, because me, especially him, he was like actually decent at. I wasn't that very. That's why I just kind of just said fuck it. I'm just gonna use my hands instead, because I just don't look. I look like a tragic mess on
another I am lore drop. That's something that me and Arby like instantly connected on way back.
Hardstyling?
Yeah, he used to.
I didn't know you and Arby were like looking at you. Oh, you.
Well, like no, like that's just something that we had in common. Like whenever we would go, like I remember I ran into him at a Qui-Con once. Mm-hmm. Our for the viewers at home, that's our local anime convention. And yeah, we just like we randomly hard styled.
Oh shit, that's actually
just kind of in the middle of the convention.
I'm not gonna lie. There have been a couple like nights where I'm like home alone and I'm basically trying to hard style in my living room, and yeah, I was just dying, man. Like I know like. I feel like the gloving community, like, versus like the hardstyle community, gloving community is a lot of nerds. There's like a lot of gamers and dorks and geeks who go more to gloving than they do in like say hardstyle, right? And then so I guess so you find gloving, right? So what steps are you taking that are like, okay, like I'm gonna get the gloves, or like what are you doing to kind of really get into it? Because you saw it, right? So what were the first steps into actually getting your first pair?
Your real pair.
My first real pair is the same steps that virtually everybody took, right? Was, a quick Google, a YouTube rabbit hole, right? Like you see
all the AO members?
See the shows, right?
See Gummy.
Yeah, you see like my early influences there, like definitely like the ones that I remember liking the most, right? Were the Munch shows. Like loved it. I started like when I started, I would conjure a lot. Like I would spend like long periods of time conjuring. Yes. For no good reason. It was bad. It was bad.
I don't think I've ever seen you conjure.
Bad. No. There's actually a secret video. There's a secret video of me that I don't think even you guys have seen. That is one of my earliest gloving videos ever, and I conjure quite a bit.
That's awesome. I wonder what you would do with conjuring now.
There's another world where you were the leader of Soon. You're the captain of Soon.
Actually, no. In that other world, I probably like fall off of going to events because like I was hanging out with my friend who was really great at glow stringing. Who, I mean, he happens to know my cousin Scott because they're in that community. And I was trying to do that for a little while too, but I was better at gloving.
Yeah. So, did you actually order your first pair off Amazing, or did you?
Yeah. I had a set of one better. Money was an inhibiting factor. So I bought Glove Maxes. I don't know if you remember Glove Maxes. They're one tier above Dots, right? Because I had heard on the wayside that don't get Dots. You know, the ones with like the little screws in the back. Yeah. Right? Glove Maxes they're circular and they clack together quite a bit. It really was horrendous.
I remember Dots, but then the set that you're referring to, I just have. I wasn't really like into like the whole like knowing each individual light. I was kind of just like take buy the light and just glove, right? But then I admired that trait about you knowing about all these different products, right? And then so you get your first pair. When do you go about actually giving shows? Like, did you have a close group of friends who also gloved, or were you kind of just like a lone wolf?
So I probably didn't have any. So I'm starting to give shows like as soon as I get my gloves. I kind of like I didn't have a preconception like that I needed to be good. It was just something. It was literally just something for me to do while I wasn't like doing other stuff.
So when did this whole thing like stop with the shuffling? That's what
it hardly stopped. Like it stopped more when just the events that we were going to. Like
we're not as fitting.
Just when the culture around it stopped, probably before I wanted it to stop, and then I also steadily gained weight over time, and it became increasingly more and more taxing. And the like it also just got overshadowed by gloving because, obviously, like looking back on it, that was my avenue in, but gloving quickly, like very quickly. Kind of
came the hot shit.
Encapsulated my attendance to events at all because something that's maybe slightly more well known about me is that I don't imbibe in any in any illicit substances. Right. And it's not like it's just a choice that I've made, but
which is super rare today. It's a very rare trait.
Probably. But so there wasn't my time at raves or other bigger events was very focused, right, in that way. Because I was either hanging out with some friends, like some friends that I had from high school or adjacent friends, and then eventually I made friends gloving, but. I'm starting as soon as I get the pair. My first event with them is that Summer Wonderland 2011, and then I would say it's like 5 or 6 months that I'm learning by myself.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I've never been like when I started. I just had a group of friends already.
Yeah, we like just all jumped ship on top of that shit.
So like, and I'm sure that a lot of mainland glovers can resonate with that, being like that lone wolf for those.
I think especially months. Now, bro.
Some of them are lone wolves for years, right? So then like that type of how you grow to me is so different.
And for the time it was rare, right? Mm-hmm. Like in 2011, like Wonderland is like on the meteoric rise. Like everybody I've ever known is starting to like because I had just graduated high school at that point. Graduated 2011, and like so I'm not in high school. I'm not really hanging out with those with some of those friends and stuff. So I'm operating mostly by myself, right? I'm in college, but like I don't really know a whole lot of people there.
Okay.
So like I'm incredibly insulated at the time, just more so than any other time in my life. And it just so happens to be when I pick up gloving. I have a lot of time, like I'm catching bus to
Like all of us.
back and forth like to campus and stuff. So like I have nothing but time to just like become engrossed in this new thing.
So
and like
For sure.
yeah, I don't even become part of any communities or anything. There's a specific moment, like I can pinpoint the very second that I become part of the Hawaii Gloving community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Livewire Anniversary 6, I think, is that year, which is Porter Robinson on his Spitfire tour.
Wow.
Yes, he came down to Aloha Tower for the Spitfire tour. I am, I'm at that event. Like I catch the bus to it. I'm by myself. I'm trading with everybody who's there. And just before Porter goes on, I actually know where I'm standing too. I'm like, where the main stage would be at Aloha Tower.
So you know what? I've actually never been to an Aloha Tower event.
You know where the main stage would be? At Aloha Tower?
I do.
Like in that back area.
Yeah,
and then it's facing like these palm trees in the back,
Yeah.
where some people would kind of hang out. And I met those palm trees, and I trade with Mike O'Connell.
Mike.
Oh, you traded with Mike O'Connell?
I traded with
dude?
Mike
Yeah.
O'Connell.
How was that?
It was great. Like we like it was a great show. I forget. Is he? Wow.
He was
at the
wow.
time? Yeah, he was wow at the time, right?
Yeah, he was wow.
Yeah, he's wow.
I hope I don't get that wrong.
No, he was wow, Jason. At least.
Which again, to all the viewers who don't know, WoW is another one ? And they were like the top tier gloving crew at Hawaii, like a decade ago.
They were the first guys around who had shirts.
Oh, they had shirts, bro, dude.
That's
official.
They were. It was just literally. It was just like the IM uniform, right? It was a white shirt. Wow. That's it.
Oh, that's sick. So how many WoW members were there at the time, or was it just him?
I don't know. There was a few like, God, the ones that like you're really gonna put me on the spot here, even though none of them are.
Yeah, you don't have to say all of them, but like you can tell that he was.
I know there's a
squad,
handful. There's the ones that I interacted with the most, like Brett and Alexa, obviously.
Yeah.
And there's like Wesley, Adam, and Justin Koo.
I remember.
I always heard about
I remember the names.
like
an OG.
Royce
yes.
would echo that into our chat like about Koo or something.
Yeah.
But I never personally.
Koo was an OG.
So what was your like?
But
so
yeah,
you being like a lone wolf, right, and then you getting like the show from Micah, right? What was
so
going on through your head?
I traded with Mike, right, and he was like,
"This is your first like really good show that you've ever seen before?"
No, I mean, like, I've been trading the whole time, like, that I'm going to events. I mean, there aren't that many events kind of on the road from, like, summer to...
Yeah.
Because that's, like, late November that Livewire Anniversary always happened, and then summer was, like, August, right?
Oh, I see.
And then he's like, oh, do you know about this or that? And I think he mentions 808 Gloving Community. I said, no? And he goes, hey, bro, I'll add you. He adds me on Facebook. He adds me to the group, and that's how I become part of it, and like how I start to kind of clue into like the community at large, and then like kind of recognizing people. Like I post a video, and then people like either have seen it or like comment or something, and then I go to events. And then, like, you see, especially, like, the Rave Rock related people and stuff.
Yes.
And, like, it was just kind of over time, like, over that next, like, year or two that I really start to just, like, actually integrate myself into the gloving community. But before that, I'm gloving by... I know one guy that probably had gloves before I did, like, that went to my high school. But beyond that, I had no friends that gloved. Like, wow. even past that point, because, when I get added to the gloving community, I'm slowly kind of integrating. But, and then I start recognizing people at events. I recognize Mike, and he's hanging out with, everybody that I'll, like, come to know in the coming months. But, yeah, I was literally just, like, watching YouTube videos and practicing on the bus.
So who are you, who are you... during this time of solitude and isolation, and or quote unquote,
my hyperbaric time chamber.
Yeah, pretty much. Who are you like examining and like studying during that time?
Studying is a big word. You know,
Yeah.
like I was
Just
certainly
freelancing it.
just watching, right? But like the shows that I remember sticking out to me the most at the time were like, so like I mentioned Munch, like the Munch shows, the Munch features I always liked. Sharky, of course, right?
Were you a Stunner guy?
I like Stunner. You know, I mean, of course, I watched all of the videos. Like,
Right.
you know, I was consuming whatever like amazing and anything like Team E related.
Team E,
Yeah.
dude,
That was coming out at the time, and like some of the other ones too, like Orbit, like OLS.
Right.
Like
Turtle, dude, Turtle. Was
Turtle.
dude, I have to tell you guys a story about Turtle. I went to IGC. What was it? 2000? Was it 15? And there's this random Asian dude that's like, "Hey, can I get a light show?"
You're talking about yourself?
I mean, but anyway, like, yeah, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, can I get a light show?" Like, there's something familiar about this dude. I couldn't quite figure it out. And then so I gave him a show, right? And then I'm like waiting for him for this guy to trade. And like, he says he has to leave, and then he just leaves, right? And then so he leaves, and I'm kind of just I get up and I kind of just go about my day. And there's this other glover who literally comes at me and he's like, "Hey, wait, I want to get a trade with Turtle. Like, I want to get a trade with Turtle." And then I was like, "Oh, dude, like, where the hell is he?" Right? And then he was like, "You literally just gave him a show." And then I was like, "No way." So
Yeah,
then,
that feeling, an instant regret, like, oh, I should have given him the best
regret,
show of my
like,
life.
I needed to confirm it, right? I needed to confirm it, and then so I forgot how I figured out his name, but I messaged him on Facebook. I was like, "Why didn't you tell me that you were Turtle?" And then like he said he just wanted to come and like get a show from me, and that was it. And that was like such the coolest thing ever.
Damn.
Because he was like to me like one of the goats at that time, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't watching The Amazing,
You were
like,
watching
on OLS,
OLS.
you're watching OLS, and you're watching people like Turtle.
Turtle.
And Turtle had that like flowy or like
He
that
was like
showmanship.
Mochi Ball.
Like Mochi Ball,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that kind of like for the time it was like technical.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but
still watch that
still
show. Still be
smooth.
great.
Yeah, it's still great today.
It just still pops. You know what I mean?
Right. So okay. So kind of going back. So you would watch people like Turtle, right? So, and people like Munch. So
Or Mimic.
or
I like,
Mimic.
I like
sure.
Mimic shows.
For
Yeah,
sure,
obviously.
for sure.
You know.
And so when do you actually? Okay, sorry. Going back to 808 GC, right? So how many people were in 808 GC when you joined? Like, what was the number count? Do you remember?
No.
Who the
Yeah.
fuck is like, dude? I've joined. Who's in this?
Because
shit?
when I
Yeah.
joined a Facebook group, I'm like, okay, how many people are in here? Like, I
guess, but
Yeah.
think I was like half of like maybe. Like
I mean, like if you're
Probably.
talking active members though, like people who are actually, it's more active than it is now.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
really interesting.
Because
Yeah, that's
back then,
interesting.
before everybody was,
Everyone
it was like
popping.
with Amazing, with Wonderland, everybody was like fucking. That community was booming. I think the coolest part about it all was when you first initially go in there. It's so lively. Everybody's posting their shows, and then you're this new guy. And you're like, oh, I'll just post this show.
Yeah, I'll just
And you get like
quietly-
that little thrill, like, oh, people are recognizing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so from my point of view, because then when I joined the 808 GC, which is a little bit after you, I already saw you posting.
Yeah.
That was the thing, and then I would see that like, okay, yeah, like this guy's style is super creative. In my point of view, I was like, okay, this guy is already integrated within the community, and like he knows everybody, like he knows the who's of the who's, and I'm like me starting off, like I looked up to you, right? And then so like I never actually got to trade with you yet, but I was like watching your shows, and like I remember. Was it the Poi Panda special?
Oh shit!
Where it was like a double team with Pono, right?
Pono, yes.
Yeah, and then so like we would say all these turns, and to the viewers out there, like Poi Panda special. I think it was like this one thing, but then you incorporated this double with Pono, right? Who at the time was like this big, in my eyes, like one of the bigger glovers of Hawaii.
He was one of the
Hawaii
goats, truly.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
so,
we met, like he was mentioned last episode and all that, but really, like I would say one of the pillars of the West Side gloving at the time.
Side dumbass.
Yeah, was it Siphon?
Siphon, right?
Nobody ever called him that.
I know, right? He had a Glover name, but no one ever.
It was just Pono.
It was just Pono. He should have just.
But yeah, actually there was nothing else. It was literally the Poi Pounder special was actually no, you're right. It's because he and I were both trying to get into poi, like get into glow stringing specifically. Yeah. So
this is wild, but he actually got into it.
He did it way. He got good.
Yeah, he got good at it.
He actually like
what
did
is
something.
Where's your testament?
Yeah, what's your you're like trying to get into all these things. You found gloving and then now you.
Later in life I find out I have an addiction to like skill toys and stuff, right? But like just trying these things, but
have you tried orbiting?
No. No.
I feel like orbiting is okay. So
hey, you know what? Yeah, I got good at it. Yeah. I tried it once.
Like everybody is like, oh man, like hardstyles for the chads
joking.
and the people that just want to be up. Gloving's for the the nerds. I think gloving or not orbiting is for the weirdos of the nerds. No offense. No offense. I mean, I if you're good at it, you rock it, you like it. It's good. It's just
all the orbiters I know are cool, man.
They're all cool. It's just. There's a certain like.
It's a niche and a niche.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It's like getting into melee.
Yeah.
You're not just a Smash player. You play melee.
You're a very special case in that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
it's a niche and a niche.
So what was that time for you? Getting into hearing about rave rock, and because in my point of view, you kind of already established in the scene, and like you were already at the rave rock house. Like, what was that time from you starting to you getting to go into the rave rock house and just session with them, and what was that in between?
So actually, there's a pretty specific in between, right? Like, I did so forcibly, not really, but like when. There's a point in time in kind of the rave rock lore that they're selling stuff out of the storage unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
The storage unit. It is just by it was the self storage that's like right under right by the highway, just below like the UH campus, like
right, and we used to, and that was still considered rave rock, right? At the time.
And that was as much of a headquarters as they had, right? It's where they had because they were selling products, so they had all the products there, and people would come in and like we would literally just be hanging out in the storage unit.
Paid while being inside the storage.
I don't know if they made money. Okay. They might have.
I feel like that was just like more of a place
probably.
For them to
I mean,
chill.
it was mostly just. So basically, I get taken there once or twice, kind of randomly, like before an event, just to get like some stuff or
you go on your own accord, like you just
no. I went with somebody first.
Oh, I see.
And then like I forget kind of what events kind of lead up to me eventually going there like all the time, like just after like I'm working on campus pretty nearby, like at the dorms. And then I just like I will literally walk from UH down to like the bottom of it's like the bottom of Wiley, right? So that's just like truly down the street.
Okay.
And
it's right there, like you can.
Yeah,
it's easy.
I literally I go from campus to the storage unit, and like I go up, I hang out there. We play Brawl a little bit.
Oh shit.
Yes, Brawl was there. That was a big part of it. And then wow. It was usually like Brett and Alexa that were hanging out there.
Right. So I was gonna ask, how many people would like from the range of like how many people would there typically be like 2 people there? Whether you would see 16 people?
So it was
20 people.
No, it was it was basically just those 2, and then like one or 2 others here and there that would
like
come hang out.
Oh, I see.
And like I would literally just goon out there all the time, like and they tolerated me, I think, but mostly because I. Really what characterizes that period of gloving for me is that I'm voracious, right? Mm-hmm. I'm starved for community and trades, interaction, and learning from we're learning from and with other people.
Yeah.
So like I will trade with anybody and everybody all the time. So I'm sitting in the warehouse, right? Like Brett and Alexa helped like somebody pick out, a new glove set or something, like, and he'll say, they'll set them up and stuff.
And
They're like, and I'll be like,
do you want a demo?
yo, what's up? You want to trade then? Like, test them out. And like, I would literally trade with like anybody who was getting like a glove set. And then once in a while I would go eat pho or whatever. But
what's really funny is I think you were there. The first time I went to the storage, the Rave Rock storage. This is like literally right after I yanked my wisdoms, all 4 of them, and my first thought is I can't smoke cigarettes anymore. I want to go buy vape. At the time they were like those volcano, very small, slim.
Oh hell yeah!
And so I'm like, but I need an accomplice with me. So I bring over Arby. He's like, I'm gonna buy a vape today, but do you want to get gloving shit first? And so I from Mililani, I busted all the way
down,
there, and like not realizing I just yanked out my teeth, and like I looked at my phone after a while. And I have blood all over my lip. Right as I get off the bus. And I'm like, holy fuck, I look like a fucking vampire. And so, I wipe my lips. But like the whole entire time I'm like interacting with these guys at the Rave Rock storage for the first time. All I can think about is like, I have blood on my lips. My face is fucking so... I can barely talk to these guys. RP is talking to them for me. That was my first time interacting with them, but...
Yeah, I think I remember you. I remember getting absolute. I remember getting my shit kicked in.
Yeah, I remember going.
Yes.
Oh, they're playing fucking Smash. That's my jam. I'm gonna play some too and rock these guys. But yeah, that was. I don't know if that was like the first time I met you. I met Brett before, but like it's hard to tell. Those are
hard to say specifically because, because I remember. My earliest memories of you guys as like I am, like kind of rolling out at an event was like I don't have a specific memory of what event it was, but we were at Kaka'ako, I think, like on like the grass.
For me personally, I know I got my first show from you at Love Fest.
Yeah, I feel like
could have been Love Fest there. Like was that
like
20?
We traded at Gareth.
Gareth, wow. Oh, yeah, actually, Gareth makes a lot of sense because we were giving Poi Panda specials at Gareth.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And there is a grassy like side of the hill at Gareth as well. Actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, so that Love Fest was like what year? Like 2000.
Well, it happened every year for a couple of years.
Yeah, for a little bit, right? So so you're going to the storage unit and you kind of you're hanging there all the time. When is it that you feel like you started getting more involved with like crews? Because from when I first met you, I knew that you were already part of like Up High and teams like Art. But before that, was there a crew there that you had originally joined, or is there like another team that you were with?
Your first love.
So it's Rave Prom in 2012. Yeah, it's I don't have a gloving crew or a team of people that I glove with at all. We're like we turned the clock just a little forward, right? That's only like I'm part of the 808 GC November 2011.
Okay.
Right, late November, May 2012, an event called Rave Prom, just at this warehouse, but you dress up. It's just another rave. Do you remember Keith Limery? I think his Glover name was Ditto.
Keith, I don't
remember. I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say
he wasn't around. He wasn't around that. He moved away after a little while. But him and this other guy, these other guys, Javin and Ferdy. People that I know specifically, you don't know. I traded with them, and they're like, they got together. It was like, oh, this guy, he's pretty cool. Hey, you know what? Why don't you join our team?
Wow. Okay.
All right, and it's like literally these four. It's like 4 to 5, like just dudes. And I joined Sweet Fucking Dreams.
SFD.
SFD.
And how long did that go for? Like, how often would you see them? Is it like?
We didn't really hang out that much outside of events, like only once or twice, but like, it was just people for me to goon out with, like, at events or after events for a little while, like, I made myself like a hat with Sharpie.
Yeah.
You're telling me you wrote a hat with SFD on top?
Yeah.
In a shirt?
That's literally what he said.
I probably have. There's probably pictures of me wearing it.
That's pride.
I rep it.
That's confidence.
Yeah. Hey,
do you rock a Sharpie hat or a hat made with Sharpie? That's bold.
Honestly, it was a good Sharpie hat for like as far as Sharpie hats go. It's not bad.
Okay. Do you still have that hat?
Maybe.
That'd be a relic.
That would be a relic.
Right, I should.
Right,
I should.
so-
Look. But I joined SFD, and I rep them pretty much all the way up until I start repping. I am.
That's not true.
This is a fact.
Yeah.
Look at my sim round.
You got the SFD.
The tag is
there?
on there.
What? No. Okay. So that now that leaves me with a bit of confusion because you were on Up High and you were on Art, right? So when did you start to get to know the Up High guys? Because you're on the East Side, right?
Yeah.
And Up High was a West Side crew.
And another thing too is how come the thing I wanted to know is how come you didn't integrate to WoW? I mean, I don't know if that was just because you weren't as close with them, but it seemed like, every time I went to Ray Rock, they're WoW.
He was there,
like
right?
You're there.
In my head, in my perspective, right? I thought you would be with the WoW
Yeah,
guys,
I thought you
but
were.
that's not the case.
Yeah.
You're just like
You're
you're
not
a
really
dude.
WoW.
No. Yeah.
Interesting.
Really, I like the WoW guys. They're pretty tight knit, right?
Right.
Like
right.
From with antiquated like terminal or nomenclature, right? They would be more of a fam than anything else, right?
Right.
Like they were pretty tight knit, and like while I was friends with all those guys for sure, like
So you're an in-law.
yeah, essentially, I was always just kind of there. I was always just hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And not that they weren't cool or they weren't my friends or anything, but it was simply like a crowd of people that I was like always adjacent to, but never necessarily
Truly
within.
Right.
Yeah,
They probably had like their own close group
Yeah.
of friends who knew each other for decades or like maybe
right. And eventually, I started to latch on to other people too, like like Pono specifically, right? He and I like we're cruising, and like Pono and Nico too.
Yes.
Right. And then it's actually neither of them that draws me to the West Side crew up high. I eventually take on a disciple, and she gets accepted to Up High.
Oh, this all starts making sense.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
like,
it's her that actually like becomes friends with like all of those guys like Code and whoever else like
Right. Not Clyde
and Clyde, especially Clyde. I think pretty specifically, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably wrong, but she becomes a part of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm here, and they're like, hey, you want to join? And I go, yeah, sure.
Did you ever participate in a slap battle?
Fuck no.
Tell everybody what slap battles is dead.
Okay, so we didn't participate in this. This was a
It's an Up High tradition.
exclusive.
Dude, this is the Up
It's
High
a tradition.
exclusive.
Yes.
Apparently, I don't know what provokes a slap battle.
I mean, truly some of the earliest recorded competitions of gloving in Hawaii.
yeah.
This
And
is
so
Technically, yeah,
what
technically.
happens
True.
is You get two Up High members. This sounds like a start of a joke. But you get two Up High members. They challenge each other, and you have like I guess a group of people who I don't know if it's Code judging or someone or if it's a group of people judging, but ultimately, whoever loses, and Code is the captain of Up High, by the way, and whoever loses gets a slap from the winner of the slap battle. But from what I remember, Code usually was in most of them. And, like I remember him. I forgot who it was. he slapped somebody and they got really
They had
triggered.
beef, yeah.
They had beef. I forgot who it was.
What,
but
bro? You can't enter a slap battle if you're not prepared to get slapped.
I don't even know why you would participate in a slap battle.
Oh, there's a slap battle,
I
bro.
like my face. I don't want to get slapped.
People probably would not have wanted to enter if maybe.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, like some people just.
But I mean, what Mahuna probably was around.
Bro, Mahuna would body people.
Yeah, bro. He would
That
break
is a
somebody's.
body slap.
He would probably break somebody's neck.
Honestly.
But yeah, like that is literally how it's truly just friend of a friend, and all of a sudden I'm part of for the viewers at home, that's Urban Portraits Hawaii. I liked their shirt.
I also liked that they had like a signature up move. And
Why is it so late? What?
I mean, we just did like a IM, but they had like this
the
U and the P.
Yeah, the U and the P.
Yeah,
was so
dude,
sick.
that was sick.
They had
to
a
me,
sick
bro.
sign. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that how was the culture within Up High at that time? What was that like?
It was interesting. It was definitely different from the teams that I was familiar with, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of, and I don't know this for a fact, but it seems like it was very much more like they really wanted there to be like a focus, and by they I mean just whoever was organizing like how things worked or what things were being done within Up High.
Right.
Like they really wanted it to be certainly a team and wanted to grow as a team. They wanted to, I think much like I am in that way, like coming up on that side, wanted kind of to stake their claim, right?
Yeah.
Right. The guys on Up High, to me, they had a lot of ambition within the team, right? And I think
they had a lot of vision. I would say
they had a lot of vision, right? And then that was the kind of thing that also kind of helped. Made me motivated to it's kind of there's even an internal rivalry, right? It's I can see that they want to be this bigger or better team, and then that helped me to want to become better myself, and along with I am, right? So you're in Up High, right? When do you start getting involved with art?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Well, getting involved with art was not necessarily a choice. There's actually a concrete thing that happens, right, to get involved with art because it was invitation only.
That's true.
Art was an invitation.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of the WoW members were really salty that Tim,
really
that Tim was taking some of their members and making a super team.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, Rave Rock, this was referenced earlier in the episode, without explanation. It was a local light selling company that eventually would go on to organize some events here and there.
Yeah.
Some of our first ever big competitions with prizes or whatever, and would also kind of spawn some other stuff down the line. But the head of Rave Rock, Tim Lum, shout out to Tim, he messaged everybody who they had selected. They literally sent me a message, said, "Hey, we're putting together this thing and we want you to be a part of it." It wasn't called art at the time. Very famously within the IM group chat, I disagreed with the name.
And what do you want the name?
Because art's a bad name.
See,
A reason to?
Like, what if you had a sports team that was called Sport?
Okay.
No,
I liked art.
I thought art was kind of sick.
I think now that it's corny.
It is. I feel like it is.
I think you were too woke for your nature at that time. Art.
was.
I'm curious, how many people were invited? And how many people accepted?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Time to rack my brain, right?
Wait. Were there people that actually rejected it?
I don't know.
That's on
Most people, I'm pretty sure, accepted. I want to say we started with 9. I think Wesley, for sure. Probably Adam. definitely Brian.
Adam?
Actually, maybe not Adam.
I don't think Adam was.
Wesley, Brian.
Brian.
Not direct.
Yeah, who's Brian?
These are all names that I don't know.
Yeah, we
have no
entering
idea these
trenches
names.
now.
Well, we'll skip over that for now. I don't know him. I didn't know him super well, but I definitely know him.
You got Mochi Ball.
Mochi Ball, obviously, he was kind of a wild card.
Yeah. JT.
JT, yes. It's on the tip of my tongue. John Arakawa.
Tempest.
Yeah.
That's Tempest, right?
Yes.
Me, obviously.
Let's just include you, yeah.
Pono.
Wait, did you mention JT already?
Yeah, we mentioned. I think those are the only 5 I can really call off the top of my head.
There must have been a couple more.
There has to be a couple more.
I don't know if maybe... Oh, Royce.
Oh, Royce.
Oh, Royce.
Yeah. I was about to say, you guys didn't say Royce yet?
Fuck that guy.
Oh, God. Forgot Royce. That's so
Wow,
fun.
and that I guess like in that timeline, like that must have been so exciting to be part of something. Or
I was incredibly excited. It was the first time I was ever...
And it's like legitimate too. You got the big backing of Hawaii.
you got a business behind
It was
team.
I mean, it was the guy, right? You know?
It was the guy.
Like he was the dude. Like there, this was post like the first like competitions and stuff. Like he's truly forming the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's such an interesting.
What are we, the bad
perspective.
guys then?
Yeah, we were the bad guys.
Are we Thanos? Is that Thanos?
Well, I thought they were the bad guys.
Yeah, you guys are the bad guys. You guys
had like
maybe a business back.
Y'all
We
had
were the
dark
underdogs.
shirts, bro. We started with white shirts, bro.
okay. Maybe he was putting together the Justice League. Like because that franchise fell off too.
Ouch.
And Marvel's still around. But yeah, it was awesome. Like I had never been chosen for a thing like that, and like it was supposed to be something that was an experience that was pretty heavily branded.
Yes.
Sponsored, obviously. He would supply us with like lights or batteries or whatever that we needed. Like that was an opportunity to me that was pretty special. And it felt like it had more gravity and consequence because at that time, like I had accrued more tags. Just some of them were fun, right?
Oh, you're a tag whore.
I tried not to be. I didn't actively do it, but I'd always be around, and then people would be like, "Oh, what about this?" Like Digidestins. You remember that? DD was a tag that like some of us had for a little while. That was a Jolene thing.
So I made
fun fact: Tetris. Jolene.
Shouts to Jolene.
She and I were actually on including IM, 4 different teams together. Besides Up High and Digidestins, she was also part of SFT.
Wow. She was
a part of your.
She was part of
Lord.
that group. Wait, she was part of that
Lord,
group that you originally joined with?
She wasn't around when I originally joined, but eventually,
she was a part of it.
Eventually, she would be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have no idea why either.
That is so completely random, dude. Yeah. So, I kind of want to talk about like the first time I traded with you because that time to me was such a different time, right? Like you would have all these I get like motivation, and I personally was hungry.
Yeah,
So
the first time,
I mean,
before I traded with you, I thought I was hot shit. To be honest, like man, I'm doing all these little digits and these king tutting, and then
the around the world tut.
The first time, the around the world. I don't remember how to do it. Like maybe something like that.
Yeah,
but I remember the first time I traded with you, I was like, oh man, I have so much more to learn, and there's this. You did things in your style that was so fun and creative and playful.
it was the most distinct style I've seen,
and it was different from what you would traditionally see with like styles from WoW. Because in my head, I was like, "Oh, that guy must be close with the WoW guys." But now I'm learning that's not true.
You can tell who affiliated themselves with the WoW, which is ironic because not you, but you can definitely tell who's affiliated themselves with the WoW people because it's just how distinct their style was. And then you're like, you went off to Candyland. You have something entirely fucking.
He had something
different
else cooking, right?
Yeah.
And I really admired.
I would say it's accurate.
Yeah, I really admired that about your style because you were different, right? And I think because of that, I was somehow I felt like you were really easy. Like that with your style, because you were playful, it made it kind of easier for me to approach you in some situations, like asking you to judge for stuff. I remember because I went down the freaking rabbit hole in our text in our chat box, bro. Like I remember the first message she was asking you to judge. I believe it was maybe like, I don't remember, was it a doubles like competition, or it was for some kind of competition. It might have been for like, maybe I don't know if it was Thursdays, but anyway, it was really easy for me to reach out to you and incorporate you within some of like the project videos that I had done, and just to simply just talk to you about the things about the community, because I saw that you were very passionate about the community. You were more vocal about things compared to all the other Glovers who were kind of like at the forefront at that time, right? And you had a lot of strong opinions, and which I agreed with most of the time, and which is why it made it easier for me to approach you, right? And then so like I remember like my first project video with KK, we did a Halloween project video, and then like people like you,
so cursed people. People better don't Google it.
Don't Google it.
Hey,
don't
you at home? Hey, you get away from that search bar, big
Project
dog.
Hero.
Whoa.
Just saying.
We're not on top of
Project Hero.
but like, yeah, it was fun having non-IM members being part of the project videos that I would make back at the time, and it was different because I didn't want to always just do things with just IM because I felt like it would get stale, right? And then so having these other friends who would be part of that, right? People with because a lot of the up high people, like I became friends with, you included,
yeah.
And I thought that was just such a like it took off of the edge in that rivalry sense, where it's like, okay, these guys are also comrades.
Yeah, they were friends.
They were friends,
part of the community,
right? And then that like still having though that like competition like driving me as well.
Yeah.
There's something different about that. Rather than just seeing these other guys as just rivalries, but then them also being your comrades. There's something special in that from my eyes. And then so like you being part of like Art, I felt like that. It's like I just saw Art as like this big rival that like, oh, we need to top those guys. We need to top those guys.
Yeah, you know, they were thinking the same thing about
and they were thinking,
it.
so like that's like, so like, I want to ask you, what was your first impression of IM?
Gosh. My
Come
first.
on, you can let out all the praises.
No. Okay, to be super for real. Like you guys were definitely. You guys came out onto the scene. I remember this relatively distinctly because I remember like some of the nonsense that you guys would do, and like your styles back in the day too. And I think that was probably like how I perceived IM was that you guys were coming in with a lot of style that a lot of people didn't focus on, right? Like because like your style back then, you gloved at the speed of fucking light.
I still do that.
Yeah, you still do. You do it better now. But back in the day, like, yeah, you used to really.
I was a speed.
Yeah, like your actions per minute was nuts.
Yeah, dude, I love, and I've been.
Then I remember this guy specifically doing like there was like a move where like you.
This one?
Oh,
yes!
the throw, the take and throw.
Yeah, I remember that move specifically. In fact, when we when we were first trading, and I remember thinking I was like, I remember that was distinct enough for me to remember who you guys were, and then the competitions rolled around, and that was really I think everybody in Hawaii who was around at the time can really put that, like, that's really kind of a marker for you guys, right?
Right, that
those competitions, those first competitions, like, and they really are the very first competitions that we have in Hawaii. I forget what year they were in, but like you guys showing up in the way that you did, and not just one of you, right? Both of you coming in second. Unfortunately, for both of these competitions.
Well, that's the curse.
Yeah, the I am curse classic. But, showing up, like, but it's still second over literally everybody else, right? And, it was behind people who were considered to be, like, really big dogs.
Right.
Like Adam and, what was it, JT?
And JT.
Yeah,
Right.
you guys show up in this way and it makes a splash, right? Like, it's...
Right.
It's a showing that is, like, that is strong and, like... you really kind of staked your claim on, like, we are here to be, competitive with literally anybody else, right? Yeah. On a good day, maybe we win.
Yeah.
Because
it's one thing to, like, when you before the competition, it's one thing to keep your eye on them, see them posting. You give them, like, oh, this guy could be good, but then when it comes down to when it matters the most, and you have a whole group of them performing, it's like,
and it's really, at the time, it's the biggest stage that we have.
Yeah.
Right.
It's what we're putting, like, our livelihood on at that moment.
It was our lives, for sure.
It was our livelihood at that time.
Because we're young enough to not have other shit going on.
Yeah.
And that is just like, we eat, breathe, and sleep it, right?
Going inside the mall looking like a crackhead. Like...
Hell yeah. And I mean, like, I'm working, and, like, even at, like, around that time, I'm working, like, a little way. I'm working in Kailua, and I'm catching the bus to and from every day that I work. And that's like an hour to and an hour and a half back, because it doesn't go, like, it doesn't go through Waimanalo at night. So, like, that's literally 2.5 hours of my day, almost every day, that I'm practicing on the bus.
That's
literally
nuts.
Literally not having a car was probably the single most impactful thing on my gloving period.
Dude, that is so interesting.
That's probably the only reason I became any sort of proficient with it, is because, like, I probably didn't have the wherewithal to drill so much at home. But on the bus, I'm literally gripping, like, the bar on the top of, like, the little plastic thing that sticks on the top of the bus seat.
Yeah.
Right? I'm literally doing this, and, like...
Is that the origin of the pole move?
Perhaps.
Oh, you got all
the time. Dude, I remember that you've been fucking hanging on to that pole. You're like, it's a move.
Bro, that was the thing. I remember, like, being you at the time.
Truly, I don't know where it comes from.
You just did it.
I think that was, like, the most defining move I remember from. You would whack people with this bitch, like, boom.
Yeah, that was like the climax to it too.
Yeah.
I would do like the same shit, like those isolations. Then it would come around and just bap.
Dude, I wonder if that's, like, literally what inspired me to come up with, like, finisher moves. Like, you had to have, like, a signature move, right? And then that might have been, like, the earliest times of it, because I don't remember having a, like, definitive, this is my special. And then when I saw the pole move, I was like, yo, that's, like, that guy's special.
It truly was. Like, there was that, and there was, like, there was like the 360 poi flail.
Dude, oh, that's in the same video, right? I think that's in the same video.
Oh, are you talking about the one at the house?
Yeah.
Yes. I do both of those in that video. And then it's my only feature in the I Am Project video.
Oh my god. Like, by the beach?
It's, like, truly the one thing I do.
Okay, so I'm going to segue a little bit, because I kind of wanted to get to this little message that you sent me, which, when I really think about this, okay, this could have changed everything. Like, this could have changed, like, the tides of what happened. And I was looking at our messages to each other, and I stumbled upon this. I'm like, wow, I had completely forgotten about this. I'm just going to read a little bit of it, okay?
Oh, no!
This is from 2000.
You're fucked up, bro.
This is from 2013.
Bro, why you roll up to this with receipts?
I have to. I'm just going to read a little bit of part of it, because... like, really, like, if I think about, like, the tides of, like, the Hawaii scene, this could have changed a lot of things. Okay, so here we go from Jeremiah.
Math.
Okay,
in before it's math.
I am messaging you today in regards to an artistic undertaking.
Shit!
In recent months, Gloving has begun to reach its branches to heights previously unknown.
Oh my god.
I have a vision.
He is cringing.
And a thirst to partake of the virgin atmosphere. And I am building a brand to do just that. It is with this in mind that I would like to formally invite you to the math team.
Hey, what's the acronyms for the math team?
Movement above the hype. Dude, there's a world where you could have been my captain.
No.
And I thought about this last night.
Kevin, why have you done this?
I thought about this last night. What if you were my captain and let's say I
team?
just threw I am away. I was like, yo, fuck
okay.
I am, which probably never, probably low percentage.
There's only one universe.
Right.
Only
And
one universe.
I'll be real. The idea wasn't bad. I don't think the idea was bad. I think it was a lack of resources. I just got whoever I knew would agree to it to do it, and that wasn't right. Right? It wasn't the right. It wasn't the right people.
You did what they did with art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
It kind of is.
You're going through all the subjects. Art, math, where's English?
Damn. Yeah, you got me.
I love how the word movement was in there too. Like,
Oh yeah.
like that he in his mind wanted movement to be part of the name. There's just something about movement.
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit of lore.
Oh,
This is a callback. I get it. I get this invite from Tim Lum. Right? Hey, putting together a group. We want it to be a brand. We want to create an example. Right? We want you guys to go out into, the scene, our local events. We want people to look at you, look at the stuff that you have, the branded whatever, like the hat or shirt or something. They want to be like, oh, I want to be. This is how I should act. This is how I should conduct myself, and also I want to glove like these people, right? That was Tim's vision, right? He wanted it to be an example, or he wanted to kind of lead. He wanted to carve the way for the future, of gloving, right? Because obviously that's his business,
right.
But also he was such a supporter of our community. Time comes, we're in the group chat. What should we call it? Right? Art comes up, a reason to. There was an alternate. There was a reason to / something, but I forget what the slash was. I blocked it out of my mind. My idea was path.
And this isn't math. This is path.
Right, because part of all the ideas coming together were it was it should have, we wanted it also to be distinctly Hawaii, so path stood for palms above the hype, which palms in this case would be a double entendre, right? Yeah.
Path is already sounds kind of sick.
It's a sick name.
It is a sick name.
Right? Palms above the hype. And it was thematically accurate to what he wanted. He wanted us to lead the way. He wanted us to be the path for new glovers to the scene.
Yeah.
Palms above the hype was also a cool double entendre. I could envision the marketing for it, and the graphic design.
Palm lights.
Didn't happen. I was salty. I will be the first to admit I never let it go. And I never let it go so hard that I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own above the hype thing, but with blackjack and hookers.
I was
right?
just thinking of that. Yes, I just didn't want to interrupt him. I was thinking that in my head.
And I said, you know what? Math, that sounds cool. It's called the math team, right? That's
it's still sick.
It's it's a different kind of double entendre, right? And I wanted to be this whole thing, I wanted to have videos that were themed, and make series of videos, but I was creatively bankrupt.
Right, and like yeah, like you said, you didn't have like as much resources at the time, right? How many people did you invite into that? I'm curious.
It was supposed to be specifically 5 people.
Wow, interesting. Do you
Five
mind
people?
sharing who the other?
Yeah, who are the candidates besides
I was
you?
because I'm
then-
like
No, there were definite members. It was me, my disciple. Actually, Jolene. Oh, that's right.
interesting. Wow. Okay. And the others?
So is me, those two, Blaine.
Blaine. Whoa, that is an
Blaine.
interesting.
You know, and if we're looking,
setup.
if we another callback to the Halloween special, Blaine, the Soon members will know him as we I think you guys mentioned last episode.
Yeah.
Responsible for the single best intro to a project video ever made.
Which one was that? The one that we did?
The Halloween one.
Halloween. Oh! How did it start again?
It was the smoke. It was a smoke out of the hat.
He grabbed it from. Was
Oh,
it a hat or was it a bucket?
I think it was a bucket.
It was like a pumpkin.
It was a
bucket?
pumpkin bucket.
I don't know.
It's the
I'm
same
pretty-
thing.
It was like
dude.
a, it was like a cauldron kind of.
That
deal.
dude. Oh, dude. Yeah,
That
that
intro
was the best part of the video.
was so sick. It was the best part of the video. If you look it up, watch that, then turn it off.
I'll put the link. I'll put the link in the
No, don't use a card.
Okay, so that is so interesting. So, what were your like competitive views on a team like this? Because, I mean, there was really no infrastructure for like at that time. I don't know if I'm getting my timelines correct or not. No, did they have competitions exposure? Like, did they have the competition exposure during that thought process
Are you
of
talking
having
about the
math?
members?
No, during the time of creating math versus actual, like the first actual Hawaii competition.
Oh,
Like,
you're trying to-
was
no,
that before
No,
or after?
math was
No, this has to
later.
be after.
Math was later on.
Yeah,
I
because
see, I see, I
art
see.
started. WoW was first. Then art started getting built after when the competition was already rolling around. So that
Yeah.
must have been after competitions have already.
And then,
started.
then I got salty about the name, and then I made my own
see, I
thing.
see.
But no, it was had nothing to do with competitions.
I see,
It was
I see.
all about videos, but I didn't execute on it.
Gotcha. And so I kind of wanted to like kind of see after.
Can't believe we did that.
I can't.
Can't believe you did that.
I had to.
You know what's really funny is he sent me like what he was gonna read out. Like, I wanted to see the points of what he was gonna like try to talk over about, and then like I like look over this like text message he sends me. I'm like, what the fuck is all this shit I'm reading? I didn't actually read it. He said you don't need to read it. And so, okay, I won't read it. I'll just look
That's
at the points.
definitely like that's so on brand for Jeremiah at the time though. That's like a super like of the moment Jeremiah thing to do.
It is,
It
it is,
is.
and like I just stumbled upon it, and it the moment I read it, all these memories unlocked, and I thought it was like a special thing to share. But anyway, let's cut to what I want to talk about to Jeremiah today. Okay, so like I said in the beginning, Jeremiah is the most locally
Successful?
consistent glover
Consistent, yeah.
in the state.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to bring you to your competitive journey. Okay, and I was going through the list, and this guy has entered so many freaking competitions. I was having trouble figuring out what competition was at what year, and like remembering like going through the journey of the timeline, and I couldn't keep up. Like I just had to search her name and figure. I remember a lot of them, but we're gonna only talk about the good ones. We're not gonna talk about bad ones. So here I have my list. Okay. First of all, what was the first comp you even entered?
It was probably many years before I didn't show up to a gloving competition.
Like throughout when you started, right? There's a lot of years where you just
Because I was already part of the community when exposure started to roll around.
Right.
Like the very first kind of big like in-person competition at all for glove. And I mean at the time like even the idea of competition, a lot of the old heads were like not about it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a little bit of like controversy on like the 808 GC about it, like it should be for the passion, for the art.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah,
We
blah.
take dumb, bro. and you
But you know, yeah. I showed up to all of them. I loved it.
yeah.
Like I didn't know I loved it actually because I remember going to exposure and then being like, okay, wait. You
missed
know,
out.
no, I remember going to exposure and competing and
Oh,
stuff.
you did compete in exposure.
Yeah. In fact, I think it was it an IM member that knocked me out? It was Anton.
Oh,
What? Oh, that's
shit.
crazy.
I wanna
Still
say-
managed to claim some blood today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anton switched. For those who are not in the know,
Super
a
old.
rare
A
IM
rare
appearance.
game. Like you talk about rare light shows, that's a rare light show, bro. You ain't gonna get a light show from him and no.
He's the
wanna
only
say-
guy with a duct tape shirt. Oh fuck! I forgot about that. Why did we make him a duct tape? Oh, it's for the project video
Because he couldn't do it.
'Cause
No,
he-
he just didn't have one.
He
at
just
the time.
didn't
He just
have
didn't have one.
Oh.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I go to all of them and like I compete and I was like, and like it makes looking back on it, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because I'm going to these raves and stuff. I'm giving a lot of light shows, especially like starting to go later into my gloving career. I'm really focusing on trading quite a bit, just because that's what's fun. That's how I connect with all the people in the community. I also, I love going to see different artists and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's at competitions that really, because like I don't get the same benefit as people like who are going to events, partying and experiencing light shows in that way, right? Kind of what normal people would associate light shows with, right?
Right.
I get no benefit from that. So competitions are kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum where that is like that it brings a lot of focus
Right.
to me, like for like my what would become my gloving career.
It's
right?
pretty much the climax of that very moment, like of your career. At that moment when you're giving the show, you don't know when you're gonna lose or not. You're giving it everything you got until the
right, and it also it gives you a reason to be like, because before we were we wanted to be good just to be good,
Right.
and because it's fun to do, and there's a whole community around it. But then all of a sudden, like, competitions, right? Like now you can go out and win something, have a thing to say that I at this moment was like the best,
Yeah.
and that that's really, I think that really kind of is like the last like kind of big turning point for
Yeah.
me in my gloving trajectory. Well, there's a few there, right? But as far as like things that are happening around me, that's sort of like the last big one for me to go, oh, okay, like this is what it's about.
Yeah. See, the thing about it is, like, I feel like Kevin and I, we always had, when we started, we had this mindset of already, like, we want to
Be the best.
Be the best.
Right.
And it was only fueled because we'd only be watching bosses from our
Right,
computer
there would be-
screen.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
and it's like, now it's just, that always fueled the fact that could happen, and it finally did happen.
It finally did happen,
you know.
right? And for many times, it actually happened for you. I'm gonna take you to your very first. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your very first competition win, okay?
Rock
And that
out?
was 2015. Yes, rock out competition, and
Honestly,
you took out.
bro, a sick competition.
That was a sick
That was a
competition.
sick bracket.
Right, it was a sick bracket. So you took out the Glover's Pit monster direct in that competition. Now,
A
don't get
great
me wrong.
match.
I don't think he was at his prime in that competition.
That was not prime direct.
I think he was. That's like right before he like.
That was still when 4D I thought stood for 4 dudes.
right, and you went up against grand finals against Jake.
Yeah, Squirtle.
Squirtle, right? Who's also now an
I
IM, right? And that was like the very. I loved it because it was like a Pokemon grand finals. You got Hypno and Squirtle, right? But you had that time to say, hey, I was the very best at this time, at that competition, right? And you weren't on IM at that point.
No.
You were still on Up High and Art, right? What was that like for you to finally win something that you've been obviously been competing for? So.
That I remember pretty specifically that it was exhilarating. Like that was like if starting to go to. And I mean, I think this can apply to anything, right? Like, I'm sure you can attest to it. Like, starting to compete in something is great and like is motivating and is fun, but starting to win stuff is nuts.
It's pretty.
It's like it's crack.
It kind of is crack. And
it's true. It is honestly the comparison is too apt probably because you get that huge like boost. Like it's such an ego. It really like. It fuels your ego really so does. Hard.
Sometimes,
and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like no. I want like I'm not gloving to compete anymore. I'm gloving to win.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's
right.
truly
truly like it's possible. And for you, it was possible.
That becomes the mindset. It's like, oh, okay, now I feel like I'm in a place where I'm not. It's not where like I'm like laying waste to competitors, right? I'm not like blazing a trail like through every competition I'm ever entering,
right.
But it's possible,
right? It's
right?
Possible.
Get a good bracket, and even against people who like I had a lot of respect for, they're like Squirtle was a little more up and coming at the time. I wasn't as familiar with him, but also like Brian and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right, and. Like, this wasn't only just on a local scale. In 2015, we started this online competition, which, I swear it was like 128-man bracket. We called it.
You guys,
it was called the Summer Infinite Movement competition. When are you gonna find a 128-man bracket nowadays, right? And then
and you guys had us do the same song.
That was a freaking
what was it, Body Gold?
Yeah, we had them all. But I mean, you gotta have them even.
You had to listen to it 128 times.
Yeah,
the judge.
Dude, that was freaking nuts. But like, okay, so in that competition,
glad I wasn't there for that one.
Yeah, you got into the grand finals against none other than
Outlaw,
right? And this is an interesting time period because you weren't on IM yet, but I think we were starting to develop a change in perspective in how we add people, and then so like you being able to like outperform a lot of these mainland glovers and like wow, like this guy's actually at that level, right? And then
I mean 128 is a lot of rounds. It's a
lot of people and a lot of rounds. So that was like seeing that you can perform on a national scale. That was like super impressive, and I think it was that competition that actually was like, that guy lives in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Why not add him? Why not have him become part? Because at this time, I believe maybe Up High and Art was starting to phase out.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
And do you want to talk about the letter, or do I want to talk about the letter?
Because please talk about the letter. I would love to hear you talk about it.
So I returned the favor, right? Like he sent me this whole thing trying to join math, and I did this like this letter graphic
scroll PNG
where we asked Jeremiah to join IM, and previously we had added Corrupted to the team, and we were kind of already
those two.
Actually,
Royce
Tweet
came
was
after
him.
It was a Jolene that came before.
I think it could have been. I don't remember.
I think there was a couple before me that when you guys started to really kind of expand. I think it might have. I want to say it might have been Tetris before me.
I think that's true.
I feel like. Did Jolene come in during that? I feel like Jolene was one of the first people, but she didn't like because we had this moment where we think these are the East Coasters now. Let's go snatch them,
Right.
Versus Jolene was part of Up.
Well, see, the funny thing about the letter that I had sent him, hey, we want you to join IM, and it had all these stipulations. One of them being trying to not use a blinky set because this guy used a lot of blinky sets, bro. With his was it crystal glass diffusers?
Bro, I have them in the car.
Are you serious?
Bro, Candy Creations first run like hand blown glass diffusers. Never been made, but glass has never been made better. And I will die on that hill.
You'll never see them again. They're
No.
rare now.
Yeah, they're a collector's item. I know one guy who has one, has some stuff that might sell me, but I haven't seen him in a decade.
Right. But so like
hard.
within within that letter, I had told him, oh, someone else is actually on the same boat as you, which in the end turned out to be Royce, right? And then so obviously he accepted, right? What was that like for you?
And funny enough, we've buried the lead. I did lose to Outlaw because he was this is Mike Cheap Beef we're talking about, and he was the guy at the time, right?
He was the guy.
Bro,
was like one of his peeps.
Outlaw was him back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
turned
So
it up.
yeah, he turned me to dust in the finals, but I still feel like I won because you guys. This is like some hidden lore that I actually got the invite just before the results came out.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
dude,
like
to
you
be
guys
honest.
actually didn't announce the winner yet, and then you're just like, "Hey, here's this." But you lost, but
you still won.
right. But I felt like I was like, "All right, you know what? If this came out of it, hey,
Can't complain.
yeah, not bad."
That was an exciting.
It was exciting.
Time.
It was
an
exciting.
time.
You know, I saw you.
I had all these guys that were just like our rivals, and then just
Exactly right.
Yeah, and because you guys were, I always held you guys in high regard, and then like to see you guys starting to snatch up guys like Joey and all that.
Right.
It was really like, oh, okay, this is it. This is where it's at now.
Right. And so like, this was a time when art was phasing out. Can you kind of describe what that phase out was like for you?
Well, I mean, for me, it was a phase out that kind of was for everybody in the scene, right? It has a lot to do with the trajectory of the electronic music scene in Hawaii as a whole. Mm-hmm. If we're thinking like way back, we have there was of course the unfortunate passing of a girl at I think it was at a Wonderland, or it was at an event at the water park, right?
I remember that.
Right. That was kind of a big moment, right? And then things start to spiral from there, as these events and festivals start to get bigger and bigger, they get more and more negative press. And really it's like it starts to kind of put a chokehold on on different events and organizers, right? It's harder and harder to start like justifying the cost for these, and like the scene starts to kind of dwindle. Like the whole electronic music scene in Hawaii starts to and you guys remember the time, right? Because leading up to it, it's ramping up super hard.
Yeah.
And then just kind of at a point, it's
start seeing a flat line.
A switch flips, and it starts to just be the Wonderlands, right? All your smaller, your smaller venues and your smaller promoters start to kind of fade away or do other stuff, right? You have some shots in the arm like BAMP and whatever else, bringing some talent down, but we start to pivot to other clubs that are less Glover friendly and stuff, like the Birth of Republic and things like that.
Yeah.
And Republic is a horrible place to club at. Yeah. To this day, I was just there not too long ago, and I had my gloves with me. I didn't even put them on. There's nobody gloving there either.
What event?
It was Manila Kill.
Yeah. Oh, so that was just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Should have went to Kaiwachi. Kaiwachi
was the day after, right?
Yeah.
But that it all kind of coincides, right? With less stuff going on, there's less for fewer venues to go to. Really everybody starts struggling a little bit, and then
For sure.
people stop going to events as well. And I think this happens to, and I think like now that we're fucking dusty old Glovers, like sitting
Not
on the
him.
lawn, like
him.
in our rocking chairs,
Not him.
thinking about the good old days. We can look back and like it happens to tons and tons of Glovers, right? Like the eventual kind of age out,
Right.
where like you start to come into a point in your life where other things take precedent over gloving,
Right.
and people just kind of fizzle out over time. Happens to like everybody, right? The number of Glovers that it doesn't happen to is small.
Right. And like this is exactly what happens with art. Right.
Yeah, so this happens to art, rave rock kind of in general, and I think there are a lot more back end things that may happen with rave rock or what have you. And I know like Tim pivots in some other ways to other ventures, but that stuff I'm not privy to. Right. But even up high, like with fewer and fewer of the members like going to events at all and stuff, like it's just people aren't repping it.
Yeah, they're not invested in it.
Yeah, and it just kind of it falls mostly by the wayside. Especially, I would say like up high and specific, like there truly was not very many of us still going to events like kind of further past like that 2015-16 kind of point.
Yeah, that was a huge point where like the community, like you can feel it dying.
Yes. Yeah, like it really comes downhill there. And that's kind of where those tags, I kept them on for the legacy of it, SFD included, I put DD on a couple, but not all the time. And then, we hit Sim, and then, like, I get the IM invite, and I'm like, huh, okay. This is active, and like I know these guys, they're great. So I put all the other tags, in storage.
Right, and that was part of the stipulations where you're like,
yeah.
Oh, you gotta rep IM. Like you have to rep IM, right?
Yeah, and I said, hey.
Not much of a stipulation.
I mean, but we were like, oh, you gotta rep that one tag. Like you gotta be that one tag. That was the thing in the community.
It was a solo tag kind of deal.
Right.
But I said, you know what, bet.
That's cool.
So I put them in. I put the other ones in the case, and here we are.
All right. Quick shout outs to Glow. Quick. Fuck, do I hate this shit? This always happens to me when I'm
Glow
reciting.
Dash.
Okay, Glow Dash. Quick shout outs to glow-leds.com for all your gloving needs. Get whites, glow sticks, diffusers, glow strings, diffuser caps. Don't forget to use code Aloha Nation for 10% off. Jesus, that's fucking rough. Yeah. But yeah, so wait, what were we talking about?
Competitions.
Okay, wait. I want to know how many times have we faced off? Was it just one time?
You and me?
Yeah, I have terrible.
Well, besides C3.
Fuck C3.
Let's
on.
Challenger.
C3. Bro, I don't remember the bracket name.
It was your name in the group chat for a long time.
Oh, I don't get to see that. So everybody else can remember C3, but I feel like we had to have run into each other once. I feel like one of the times I ran into you.
I don't think that happened, dude.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to think.
I feel like I would remember that.
Because of course, as was mentioned in the last episode, me and Tech had a
rivalry.
Yeah, we had a history of battles, right?
How many? Do you remember?
It was like 4.
Wow! So that is a rivalry. That is probably the biggest rivalry in terms of like how many.
Count,
the longest count, right?
Yeah.
Who's up?
I want to say I'm up right now. I think he mentioned it in the last video as well. But I would really have to like dig into the Mind Palace or truly just look at Facebook to remember specifically, because there's I think one of them is like an exposure or something, or maybe it's is it Rock Out? I
wasn't able to see the earlier bracket of Rock Out.
Tech would remember better, maybe, but Well, I remember he's always, and he mentioned this in the last episode too. He always do that bone breaking shit and like style on me a lot. He would do it a lot. He would like put his hand flat on the floor and like rotate his arm like fucking 360 degrees, and I'd just be like,
things you can't do. Let's go down the list of your highest placings, okay? So we got 2015, first place, Lights Out against Corrupted. You got 2016 semifinals in Youngblood's Battle Royale competition against Direct. And that's also a rivalry because I think he actually got to grand finals, right? Then in 2017, you got grand finals in the 2-glove competition kickoff against Youngblood and Skittles, right? You got 2017, this is a fun one, Hawaii's King of the Hill Future Bass competition, right? Then you got 2018, right? Perhaps the peak of it all, right? You got Lights On Season 3, Intermediate Bracket Grand Champion, and then 2018, you got Top 4 Hawaii Boss, 2019, still Top 8 Hawaii Boss. So statistically, you are like the most winning glover in Hawaii combined, right? That's not bad. This is the guy.
I don't imagine it not to be good.
This is it's not bad, man.
I guess you could call it not bad.
Right. So so I kind of want. Were you a competitive guy before all this?
No.
It was gloving that really sparked that competitive nature.
Well, it's just because I'm not like I was never that good at that many things. Like, and I certainly wasn't entering like competitions for other stuff. Like, I learned piano growing up, but I definitely I always just wanted to do my own thing and like learn like Final Fantasy sheet music and stuff. Like, and we had recitals and stuff, which I liked, but I would never like enter piano like competitions, right? Or see, I'm having a hard time thinking of things that I'm even slightly proficient in. Like, truly, it was the first thing that I picked up and dedicated myself to, and like got into a place where I was like, oh, like, I mean, eventually, of course, like, there was a lot of, like, I was really reaching in the beginning, but, like, once I want something, and then once I want something again, I was like, oh, you know what? I am at least pretty good at this, So, it was the first thing that really I had that kind of confidence with to really drive me to compete. Right. Because like if it can be disheartening to like enter a scene that's a lot more established, like something like an esports scene, right, or a competitive anything else, like to enter into a scene and then to start to win. Like there's a lot of distance, like there's a lot of ground to cover, like unless you're just like some god, right, that just comes up through the ranks and decimates the peons below him. Like, but for gloving, that wasn't the case. Like, of course, I had the benefit of, having a lot of lead up time, at least, what we would consider these days to be, a fair amount of time gloving. But at the time, I was kind of in the middle, right? Like, in kind of what I would say we're all part of kind of like that generation of glovers where we weren't quite the old heads or OGs that we would think of like in the scene at the time, but we certainly have been around a little longer than some of the newer guys in the scene, like the 4D guys, or even now guys who are bigger, like Nathan and the Lost Boys and stuff like that. Like competing was something that I became truly like addicted to. Like,
you could tell.
Yeah, it was really something, and probably the one something that I had that like was and this is unique to probably my entire life, right? Like gloving was something that I sought out on my own, and like I grew by myself and like made something, having those tournament wins gave me something to kind of validate all that time and effort, and like there was no other like, my situation was better for this, or
Right.
you know, like
it was always there.
I had no privilege for it, right? Or legacy or anything like that. It was something that I truly like paved my own way for, and it became very special to me for that reason, and it's probably the only reason that I still active is a strong word. I still bring them to events and stuff, and like I still keep it in the back pocket.
Which competition is the most? Which competition win, I should say, do you think is the most impactful to you? Was it that lights on?
It has to be lights on.
It had to be.
Has to be lights on.
Who did you go? Now we can talk about it.
Impactful because you won the most money from it?
You're goddamn right.
That's my $500.
Second place was still.
Yeah, no. Given I saw your show and I saw my show and I was like,
dude, I judged that match and.
Nah, he won it.
That was a tough one, man, because I had the style and like knowing Jeremiah's style. I thought in my perspective, Dan, you had more like you got the complexity part right, but I thought he had the style portion.
I remember specifically that I wanted Kevin to give me a perfect style card, and I almost achieved it. I think. Or did I achieve it? That was my highest scoring. I think I got a 34 on that one.
Really? Holy shit.
Or 33 at least.
How do you remember the number? I barely remember.
It was that was a $500 number, big dog. You know what I mean? Like, I remember.
Right. So, just to kind of wrap things up, okay. In terms of like style and your journey, I kind of want you to kind of walk us through your transition between like the old Hypno and the new Hypno, because like the stylistically, because.
I miss the old Hypno.
Dude, I miss the old Hypno too.
You know what?
Because becoming part of IM essentially meant, like, at the time, like, okay, you have to adopt their style.
Bro, we're literally there chanting, one of us. One of us. As we're platforming in
right, dude, you had to incorporate stuff like
platforming. I started platforming during the sim competition, right? Mm-hmm. Like,
interesting, right? So, yeah, you kind of, like, I want to know, like, what's going on through your mind from, like, the old Hypno to... like having to kind of adopt that IM style, because I know that like that those were one of the things that even some of the other newer IM members had problems with. It's like, man, you're on IM, it's like, man, I gotta do platforming. But I felt like for you that wasn't really that much of an obstacle, or was it?
It was not, honestly. Platforming, I think platforming came very natural to me, because I think if I really had to, especially in my decrepit gloving age, I really like, if you boil down like the essence of my style and what makes it unique and why like you call it a style at all, I think it all comes down to a very movement focused style, right? As opposed to like a dexterity or complexity focused style, or something that's very kind of liquid and connection focused. Right. Like my style had evolved in a way that was, and it's kind of always been that way. And really, you can even point to some of those touchstones, like like a munch, right, or something where like truly, and I think it's also born of me having to just figure it out myself, right, and that's kind of what defines early Hypno. Which I hate referring to it in the third person like that, but it really defines my style back then. Like having to like truly forge from nothing more stuff. Like I was hungry for it. I was pressing forward into gloving. There was like, I probably didn't incorporate tech into my shows for like a year.
From the very
none
start.
Didn't tut or wave tut or anything at all. Like but I still wanted more stuff to do, so that really led to a lot of those kind of cause and effect, kind of isolation type things that I think, you can draw a direct line to very kind of mime-esque moves like the pole move, and then, drawing inspiration from the other things that I'm interested in, like the poi flails that truly come directly from learning low stringing and stuff. Like, I was like, I'm going to do this, but with my hands.
Right, and that's the biggest thing that I also admire about you, because you have the stats. You've placed in these national competitions, right? But people think in order to get to that top level, you need to do an enormous amount of tech. But this guy may not be the most technical golfer out there, but what makes him unique and different from the rest is his movement, and that's a very undiscovered thing that not many glovers talk about.
Like the AMSA of gloving?
Yeah. What's really crazy is, like, when I see all these other glovers way back then, they're like, all skinny and stuff like that, and there's this bigger guy, and this guy's moving the most. He is like flying around.
I was destroying calories moving like gloving, like, oh man, and like I would be legendarily sweaty. Like I always brought extra shirts and stuff, because I am a big guy. But even then, I was much less heavy than I am now. But like I was schmoovin' at all times, like really doing the most, and like especially people who are into who have a dance background can attest to it. That like doing moving in certain ways, like when you're talking about like popping and locking and stuff like that, those are like those kind of fine motor movements actually do require more actuation of your actual muscles and stuff. So like. Really, I think having so little in those early days, not doing tech, not because I didn't like it, but because I had so little faith in my own dexterity and had nobody to learn from, that I was like, well, I gotta do something else, right? I'm not gonna move my fingers a whole bunch. I'll move everything else. That really was kind of the the very singular and insulated way that my style was born. And then over time, I incorporate more of the tech. I have a lot more wave tuts over time, some king tuts. I've always thought my king tuts were garbage, but as I progress and as we go through competitions and stuff, I'm like, okay, what do I like? I'm adding more stuff and I'm trying to win competitions. And I think that kind of galvanizes itself once we get to all the way into even on the way to the sim competition, right? I'm incorporating platforms at the time. Right. And really that's part of it is because it's something that I'm learning at the time, but also I'm like, all right, this is the infinite movement competition. So
you might as well add to the guys who started platforming.
You know what I mean? It was to win. And then, all the way to lights on and to, touch back on, our finals, right? Mm-hmm. I remember that specifically being a show where I went, okay, I really was okay, the things that I like, the things that I want to do, and the things or that I naturally do, and also things that score well are different things, right? It was in that moment, it was okay, $500 is on the line. I would like $500. I need to win to do so. I need to put Daniel in the dirt. Well, I mean, even before that, it was there was Tweety in the bracket too, right?
Right.
I'm looking at these things okay, we're in a spot now where I feasibly could make it all the way in this bracket, and to do so, I need to score well. What is scoring well? What isn't scoring well? And we're really active in the chat, really breaking down and doing a lot of analysis on who's scoring what in what way, what things are working, what things are not. especially in regard to like the specific judges that you have, and it becomes. I remember in that, like especially so in that finals video, I truly like transition from performing to like competing. Right, I'm getting in front of the camera to make a good score to make money.
Right, and that to me is kind of like a double-edged sword. Like I think
truly
about it
is,
now
yeah.
because it's like right, you're adhering to the scorecard, and it kind of changes the way that you throw shows, right? Rather than like you coming up and developing a style and being scored just based on that. I guess a better way to say it is would be that the IGL scorecard kind of manipulated how Glovers throw, and in hindsight, that to me was like the problem with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and like we've been recently, it's come up like in the lounge a little bit, right, where people are asking about like scorecards, right, like and the centralization of them, right. This has come up a couple of times pretty recently, and I think because people people have the one. I think the gloving community, as it stands right this second, is like in a place where people want more from it, and I think we're in a place now where like some of the more up and coming people like haven't been in a place before where they had the IGL, right, or at least weren't participating in a more meaningful way. So to have something so centralizing is, on one hand, it makes it easy to like have a path to success, but I also think that it's unhealthy overall, especially like when it's so because Lights On was like it was like the premier league, right?
Especially with the
of
ranking
gloving at the
system,
time, rankings, notoriety, and also money. Like it was the most money you could get for winning a competition. Like pretty much, bar none. Maybe like IGC was the only thing that had a little more clout. Even I mean, it's part of those, but Lights On, the online competition, was just so much more accessible, to everybody, and it created this environment where I was motivated, and like going back through everything like that we talked about, like I was motivated almost singularly by competitions, right? That really kept me in the game for a long time, like outlasting a lot of people that we know,
Right.
just because I wanted to compete and be involved in that way still, and potentially and eventually win money. Like that was a great motivator. Was the potential to win stuff, and like
feels better than winning.
But
Beats losing. I will tell you that. Beats losing.
I would go on to do nothing but lose. I haven't won anything since, I don't think. Although I haven't entered that many things.
Yeah, it's been a while. Right.
But like truly like that much centralization I think has that negative effect on the community at large, where we really start to as it sucks people in, the community starts to conform around it, and like it leaves that impression, like it takes the shape of that scorecard and that format, right? Which is tough too, because you want a format to, on one hand, like if you're introducing like a big venture or a big competition series, you want it to matter, you want people to care about it, but on the other hand, like how do you handle stuff like scoring and judging with care, right? With enough like, is it enough to be like just the IGL scorecard, or do you need to redefine it every time? Should we have something that's like a centralized metric?
Right. The bottom line is you can't adhere to everyone. You can't make everyone happy.
Yeah, my stance on it is that like when you enter a competition, by entering you are agreeing to the terms upon which the competition is held, right? So whether it's perfect or imperfect, another mindset that I think you would agree with, and that we've kind of developed over those years of like online competitions is that everything matters all the time.
Yes.
Right? Like, and then like, and even like you would know like judging competition videos, right? Like, even something as innocuous as like overlaying audio, right? The big one.
That's a big one.
The big one.
Or there's other people that had a cameraman for them.
Yeah.
That one was a trip.
Wow. I forget who was that. And like
It's
they were
long.
like
No,
following. No, besides it, there was another one, right?
I mean, we had Steam Boy do that as
Steam Boy
well.
did that too. They had a cameraman.
Well, I know for free.
So they would always
Actually,
stay within the
know.
frame.
No,
That's
there
hacks.
was another Lights On one, I think. But anyway, or actually no, maybe it was a Fable one, a Guardian. Anyway, having all the elements in front of you and like making sure that each of them is good, like even if it's not on the scorecard, like it's still like a subconscious element of whoever's judging your show, right? Like you immediately you see the potato quality, you're like, right? And then maybe you're like, and you're not going to be like, okay, potato quality, like one less storytelling point. That's not how it works, but you're immediately, your mindset is less receptive to the stuff that's coming at you because the format in which it's presented is bad, right?
Honestly, if you have a really blurry video and I can barely hear your audio,
You're
as
supposed to
a
get docked
as a
anyway,
judge,
though.
like I'm not gonna dock you on it, but you're probably not gonna receive as many points because
Right?
it's not as impactful.
If I'm hearing mouth breathing, that's like,
So I'm gonna wrap it up. But over the years, you have proven time and time again that no matter what the stipulations were, you always somehow managed to always be on top of that, like adhering to all the standards throughout all the competitions. And because you were able to do that, this is the reason why you were able to be consistently the top placing Glover in Hawaii. And for that, bro, much respect to you and to all the viewers at home. You gotta check out his shows.
Put some respect
put
on
some
his name.
respect on this guy's name.
maybe I'll turn them off unlisted on YouTube. hey, everything matters all the time. When I was competing, I would unlist all my videos.
Oh my, you went that deep?
Bro, nobody can research me.
That's crazy.
There's nothing against it.
That's the Hungry Box where he would not friendly anybody for his jigs just so he could just come up in the semifinals and finals.
Bro,
and just
it's a fact.
You're like the high key low key guy.
No, I truly, all my videos right
That's
now,
crazy.
all my videos are unlisted.
Interesting.
Maybe I'll unlist some.
So maybe we'll
you know?
unlist it, guys. Maybe for Lucky he'll
Hey,
unlist it.
don't Google it.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining, and thank you to all the viewers at home watching. That was super fun. Who knows the next guest we're gonna have on next time? See you guys.
Peace.